Heroic men. I was blessed to be asked to speak at this year's Heroic Men Summit, but unfortunately, the summit this year is on the exact same weekend as my parents' 40th anniversary wedding celebration, and my siblings and I have been planning something for over a year, so I can't make it this time. But I did want to say a little bit about why I think the fight that Heroic Men is fighting is so critically important. Think about this. Less than half of American children reach adulthood with both parents in the home. And it's usually not moms that leave, dads do. Approximately 80% of single-parent homes are led by mothers, and at this moment, 19.5 million children live without a resident father. That equates to the entire population of New York City, including suburbs, full of fatherless kids. Now, American fatherlessness has risen in lockstep with American contempt for masculinity. And that's not an accident. In the last 4 decades, our culture has developed contempt for all things masculine. This contempt has ultimately produced the very thing that it seeks to destroy. That is toxic men. How so? Well, there's an old saying that goes, boys will be boys. But that saying overlooks an even more deep-seated desire in young boys that boys want to be men. Held within the mind's eye of every wild-eyed young boy is an image not of who he is, but of the man that he wants to become. The trick to ensuring that boys become good men is making sure that they have the right picture in mind. Unfortunately, today's culture doesn't give boys a positive picture. Instead, our culture seems to reject masculine pictures, masculine role models altogether. In his 2021 article published in the American Psychological Association's Journal for the Psychology of Men and Masculinities, Brian P. Cole notes that the majority of research conducted on male psychological traits implicitly treats those traits as negative. Specifically, Cole notes that in the 20-year history of perhaps the most globally influential psychological journal on masculinity, only 15% of the articles published took what he classified as a positive view of masculinity, and most articles treated masculine traits as negative things. Of course, negative references on masculinity aren't only limited to academia. In any given month, negative allusions abound in the entertainment industry, in popular media, in politics, both in academia and in society at large. Masculinity has a bad reputation. And the problem with treating all masculinity as a bad thing is that doing so denies young boys the positive models of masculinity that they need in order to become good men and good fathers. You see, fatherhood doesn't just happen. Sure, biological procreation, that happens quite easily, but committed, faithful, intentional fathers, they don't arise out of thin air. They're forged by positive culture. Cultures which give young boys a roadmap as to what masculinity looks like. Culturally speaking, if we do not give our young boys good masculine role models for what it looks like, for example, to be a good father, then we'll get exactly what we asked for. We'll get a world full of boys happy to procreate but wildly deficient as fathers. We'll get a fatherless world. And just to state the obvious, that is a painfully bad thing. As illustrated by groups like the National Fatherhood Initiative, the presence of an involved father positively correlates with a child's success in almost all relevant sociological metrics, including educational success, psychological stability, and future job performance. Conversely, the absence of an involved father does the opposite, correlating with things like poverty, infant mortality, and prison. So again, to deconstruct masculinity is to deconstruct fatherhood. And to deconstruct fatherhood is to hurt children. Your work at Heroic Men this weekend matters. Now, the crisis of men and masculinity, it's bad in our day. But the current crisis is even more problematic when one considers what the crisis might mean for future generations of the church. Why? Numerous studies across diverse populations have conclusively demonstrated that a faithful father is far and away the best predictor of what faith will look like in the next generation. One of the most rigorous examples is a 4-decade longitudinal study published by Oxford University Press, Vern Bankston's Faith and Family Study, How Religion is Passed Down Across Generations. In this study, researchers followed 350 families and over 3,000 individuals across 5 generations, seeking to uncover the secret to successful religious transmission, getting the faith from one generation to the next. The findings of the study showed that there is a stronger correlation between children and faith practices of their fathers and grandfathers than mothers and grandmothers. In June of 2023, the Communio nationwide study on faith and relationships revealed that the collapse of marriage and the resulting decline in resident fatherhood may offer the best explanation for the decline in Christianity throughout the whole of the United States. These conclusions are drawn from results of a nationwide study of over 19,000 Sunday church attendees conducted during worship in 112 evangelical, Protestant, and Catholic congregations in 13 different states. And the same results were corroborated in the new study from the Institute for Family Studies, released just 3 weeks prior to this Heroic Men's Conference in June of 2026. I cite all of these studies to demonstrate that there are academically sound reasons to believe that it is the father who plays the critical role in passing the faith on to his children. Fathers are critical for rebuilding society and rebuilding the church. We must emphasize men. Rebuild the man, you rebuild marriage. Rebuild marriages, and you rebuild families. Rebuild families, and you rebuild the church and the culture. The work that you are doing this weekend at the Heroic Men's Summit is critical and will resound for generations to come. Now, about 2.5 years ago, I left my previous work in campus ministry to devote myself full-time to the fight for men. I founded an organization called Forge, and you can find out more about it at www.myforge.org. The basic idea of our organization is this: Satan attacks the church and the culture by attacking the family, and he attacks the family by attacking men. So at Forge, what do? Well, we reverse the strategy. We build exceptional men to build strong families to renew the church and the culture. Now, how do we do that? Forge is known for large events and high quality curriculum, and those things matter because they build identity and they provide solid formation. But small groups lie at the center of our organizational strategy. Why small groups? Well, in part because it's just what Jesus did. More personally, it's what I've seen work. Small groups, they're not complicated things. If you gather men consistently, engage some strong content, and create space for honest, candid conversation about real challenges in life, well, growth happens. Give it enough time and you will see conversion. That's why so many fruitful ministries around the world are built around a small group model. It's not rocket science. Jesus did it, and so we do too. Since founding Forge on January 1st of 2024, we have seen tremendous fruit. We started in Des Moines, Iowa with regular events, a conference, and a methodically growing network of small groups. Then, about 18 months later, a talented man from Wichita, Kansas, left his career as an aerospace engineer, fundraised his support, and launched Forge in Wichita. Now, I'm happy to report that we have 2 more cities and men in those cities who, in the next 6 months, plan to leave their careers and launch Forge in their Midwestern cities as well. We're excited about what God is doing in Forge cities, but we also want to serve men all across the country, even outside those cities. Early on, Forge was blessed by a very generous group of benefactors who collectively invested more than $500,000 so that we could collaborate with world-class scholars with an outstanding production team to create resources for men's small groups. Today, we offer 4 video-based courses. One called Fathers and Sons addresses the question, how do we raise sexually healthy sons in the midst of a sexually toxic culture? 2 of our other courses, called Home Church and Patriarchs, they respectively explore how fathers and grandfathers can pass the faith to the next generation. And our most recent course, called Men and Work, explores what it looks like for a man to be a saint in the workplace, providing not only financially for his family, but also emotionally and spiritually. Forge also wants to collaborate with any conferences, any men's conferences that are going on throughout the country. And if any man at the Heroic Men's Conference would like to have me out to speak at a local Catholic men's conference, we would be happy to open up our entire content library for every single attendee at your conference to access for free in the occasion that you come and have me speak. This provides a launch pad from the conference to an empowering post-conference experience for your men. I could not be more proud, and I could not possibly think more highly of the work that Heroic Men is doing. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there this year, but I look forward to joining you in years to come. Thank you, and God bless all of the folks at Heroic Men.